We always talk about our social media use as some kind of habit, right? Usually a bad one we've got to break. But what if we're looking at this whole thing completely backwards? Let's get into it because today we're going to totally reframe your relationship with your apps. Forget breaking habits. We're talking about hiring and firing. So let me ask you a weird question, but just go with me on this for a second. What job are you hiring Instagram to do? Seriously. Or TikTok, or whatever your app of choice is. It sounds kind of strange, I know, but asking this one question, well, it's the key to figuring out why you scroll and, more importantly, how you can actually get a handle on it.
See, here's the thing. Every single time you unlock your phone and tap that little icon, you're essentially hiring that app to do a job. Think about it. You're the manager, and these apps are your employees. So the first step is to figure out what you're actually hiring them for. What's in their job description?
Maybe the job is simple. You're hiring it to fill dead time. You're standing in line, you're on the train, you've got this awkward little gap in your day, and boom, you hire an app to just make it go away. It's a classic, simple task. And let's be honest, the apps are great at it.
Or what about this one? To get validation. You post something, a picture, a random thought, and you're basically hiring that app to go out and bring you back likes, comments, that little dopamine hit of social approval. And man, is it an effective employee for that job.
Oh, and here's a big one, a really common job. You hire an app to help you escape what you're supposed to be doing. That tough email you have to write, that big project staring you in the face, your phone is the perfect escape hatch. It's the undisputed master of procrastination.
And maybe the most powerful job of all, you hire it to feel connected when you're feeling lonely. And you know what? These are all real, totally legitimate human needs. The apps do these jobs incredibly well. That's why we keep hiring them, day after day. So, if the apps are so good at their jobs, what's the big deal? Well, the problem comes up when you try to just fire them without finding a replacement. This is exactly why simply deleting an app so often fails. It creates this huge vacuum, this thing we'll call the deletion void.
And this is the absolute core of it. You just can't replace a tool until you really, truly understand what job it's doing for you. Firing the app without understanding the job, it's like firing your accountant without having any plan for who's going to do your taxes. The need, the job, it doesn't just disappear.
And this lays it out perfectly. Look, you can delete Twitter, sure, but that need to vent, to process your emotions, it's still there, totally unaddressed. You can get rid of Instagram, but that fundamental human need to feel connected to other people, it's still there. You fired the employee, but the job posting is still up. That's the void.
Okay, so how do we figure out the real job description so we can actually fill that void with something better? It's simple, actually. You conduct a little job interview with yourself every single time you get that urge to scroll. All you have to do is ask yourself 3 questions.
Question number 1, and this one is absolutely crucial. What was I feeling right before I picked up my phone? Was it boredom, anxiety, maybe loneliness, stress? Try to get specific. That feeling, whatever it is, that's the trigger. That's the moment the help wanted sign goes up in your brain.
Okay, then you ask yourself question 2. What am I actually trying to get from this? Am I looking for a distraction, a quick laugh, a sense of belonging, maybe even a dose of outrage? This question helps you to find the outcome you're hoping your little app employee is going to deliver.
And finally, the toughest one. Question 3. What might I be avoiding? Oof, this one gets right to the heart of procrastination and escapism. Am I avoiding a difficult conversation I need to have? A challenging task at work? Or maybe, I'm just avoiding sitting with an uncomfortable feeling.
So here's the whole process in a nutshell. It's a super simple 3-step check-in you can do in literally 10 seconds. 1. Identify the feeling. 2. Define your goal. 3. Uncover what you might be avoiding. And remember, the point here isn't to stop yourself. It's just to collect a little bit of data.
And that data, that's where all the power is. Because the whole goal of this thing isn't to make you feel guilty about scrolling. Not at all. It's to turn that mindless, automatic scrolling into a mindful choice, simply by giving you information about your own patterns.
And once you start asking these questions, you'll start to see these patterns emerge almost immediately. You might realize that every time you feel overwhelmed by your to-do list, you hire TikTok for the job of avoidance. Or that when you feel lonely, you hire Instagram for connection. You suddenly start to see the machinery behind the habit. I'm going to say this again, because it's probably the most important takeaway of this whole thing. This is not about guilt. It is about information. You can't fix a problem you don't understand. Gaining that self-awareness is the first
absolute, non-negotiable step toward making any kind of real change.
And this really just says it all. Name it. Name the job. Are you hiring your phone to be your procrastination partner, your anxiety soother, your boredom buster? The second you give it a name, you suddenly have power over it. You have the information you need to actually make a different choice.
And that brings us right here to the final and most empowering question. Now that you know the job description, you are no longer limited to just one applicant. If the job is, help me process my anxiety, what else could you hire? How about a 5-minute walk? Or a quick call with a friend? Maybe just a moment of deep breathing. The choice, all of a sudden, is yours again. So, what will you hire next?